Welcome to another Fustercluck, a mix of experiences, musings, and awkward free association sparked by geocaching and post-cache Wikipedia dives. If you like random, then you'll love, hey, what are those ducks? Most of the time when I'm out geocaching, I want to be left alone. It's just the way I enjoy the game, and it's one of the reasons I try to employ stealth while out and about. As many of you know, a clipboard is good for this. Usually, people just ignore or downright avoid someone with a clipboard, unless you're in the clipboard store and the clipboard salesman is going, Sir, you asked me to show you this clipboard, sir? But otherwise, a clipboard ranks up there in being ignored, and I know about ranks because people are always telling me I'm rank. Also, I very briefly had a job when I was younger at a mall trying to get people to do surveys for market research. I was the guy that would roam around with a clipboard, trying to lure you in with promises of movie tickets or merchant coupons, only for you to find out that you have to do a rather long questionnaire, sometimes about the performance of name-brand plastic wraps, sometimes about how you feel seeing an interracial kiss in a movie starring Denzel Washington. So I have first-hand knowledge of the repulsory powers of the clipboard, and incidentally, I learned that 4 out of 5 racists prefer premium saran wrap plastic wrap. Do you mostly agree, somewhat disagree, mostly disagree, or have no opinion on the matter? I still got it. And he wrote, sometimes the mighty board of clip just doesn't fit the scenario. For instance, there's a cache here in the middle of all these houses with all their windows and dog walkers out walking their dogs, so I figured I'd bust out this grabby tool, make it awkward to wield by putting a camera on it, and combine it with a trash bag and high-vis jacket, thus making me some rando trash picker, which I think makes me less approachable. Allow me to demonstrate. Alright, check this out. Extend. Oh, I need a little Viagra instead. Yeah. Alright, I'm trying to look normal here. That's the opposite. Viagra jokes aside, it pains me to admit that it took me 10 years before I tried the cash-in, trash-out technique, but for perspective, it also took me 30 years of driving before I learned that I was using an ice scraper all wrong. You're supposed to score the windshield with this bit before flipping it over and then scraping? Well, nobody told me. So as you can observe, anyone that sees me will assume I'm just some environmentally conscious guy picking up trash, trying to impress his parole officer because that lasagna I made for them did not go well. I'm not picking up trash because I care about the environment. I'm doing it so you'll ignore me. Screw the environment, I'm just getting a cashier. In fact, I plan on emptying this bag of trash all over some other park just so you don't think that I'm some goody two-shoes trying to virtue signal his way into your heart. Must extract ball. It's gone now. I will admit though, as someone who littered in his youth because he was a dumbass, I have no excuses for it, that after I found my targeted cache, I kinda still felt compelled to pick a different path back to my car so that I could pick up more trash. It's as if there's some little litter lawyer living in my head directing me towards my penance. And yes, the phrase little litter lawyer living in my head gives my tongue an erection, which I now realize is an unfortunate mental image that you are now forced to confront on your own as I plow onward. What is the opposite of litter? Art, right? Yeah, whatever, it sounds good, or at least sounds like I thought it out, and not that it's some cheap transition, but I was near some caches located right by an art museum. And it was only $15 to get in, but here's a problem that has sort of plagued me during my geocaching career, and maybe those of you involved in long-term relationships can offer some ideas with how to cope. If I go into this museum on my own, my wife will get a little ticked off that I didn't wait for her. I brought this up with her and she said, not lie, that I should go for it as long as I can pretend well enough that I didn't do it. Sure, honey, no problem.
That's bait.
That's right, you satisfactory replacement for Mel Gibson. It is bait. She cut my brake lines once because I watched 2 episodes of Red Dwarf without her, so I didn't dare go inside. But at least there's some art pieces outside, and as is my way, I learn nothing about them until I get home. I should warn you that I'm about to explain a problem I have that could very well change the way you look at art from now on. My ability to appreciate sculptures has been stunted ever since Ghostbusters 2. They use a psychomagnetheric slime that animates inanimate objects powered by the mood of the surrounding living entities. You can see where I'm going with this. No matter if it was sculptures or dinosaur bones or religious artifacts, I would always first think, wow, what would this be like if it became animated? And that thought became reflexive, just some habit I formed in youth and never really got out of, like saying, thank you for taking this away, poopy monster, whenever I flush the toilet. This sculpture sculpture called I Set Before You This Day is made from bronze by George Anthonison, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, and it honors Holocaust victims and their rescuers. So I know you're worried about where I'm going with this since I just explained my thought process, but fear not. It's not like I'm gonna mock a Holocaust memorial, no. But it is unfortunate that the first hit from Google when I looked for info was this blog entry from the Humble Fabulist, because when they visited, someone had put googly eyes on one of the people, and now I'm going to hell for giggling at a Holocaust memorial sculpture, which isn't fair because I was caught off guard. I mean, that's the nature of humor, and I'm sure some of you bastards are coming with me in this handbasket to hell. This same artist also sculpted this called caryatid, which is the dictionary name given to those sculptures that serve as architectural supports, and indeed, they offer tributes symbolically showing strength and the weight of responsibility. Most modern artists seem to be inspired by ancient Greece's caryatids of Erechtheion, which I can only pronounce correctly if I hold my tongue while saying erection. That's right, I'm somehow mentioning tongues and erections twice in two different circumstances in the same journal entry. And like most of the sculptures preserved from that time, they are draped in lore and culture, but I'm afraid all I can do is imagine them being animated by the Ghostbusters slime, arching their backs and going, "Cool, I could go for a point. I've been holding that up for ages." And you might be going, why does they have a British accent? Or she? And I say unto you, one of them does, because they are she's. This is the Acropolis Museum, modern day times. The caryatids from Erechtheion were moved here, and you may notice this empty spot. And that's because they are awaiting the return of the missing sister, which is actually in a British museum because some toughed up lord may or may not have pillaged it in the 1800s, and now they say it's theirs legally, and they won't give it back to the Greek museum. And shame on you, British Museum. Forget the legality of it for a moment. You really come across like that kid from grade school that just wanted attention, so he took the last piece of the puzzle that everyone was working on, so they couldn't finish it and had to focus on him. He got caught hiding in the girls' bathroom. You're not like that kid, are you, British Museum? Moving on to the last sculpture to see if I can sound like I know what I'm talking about after reading a paragraph on Wikipedia. This is Jonathan Herzl's Observer, and I really couldn't find much information about this. I just assumed he made it to look cool. Mission accomplished. Oh, and what's this? An intrusive thought about Ghostbusters slime? I can't help it. But who wouldn't love to see this thing running around, causing havoc, slashing tires, because that's the emotion I feel around here when I try to park during business hours, until I single-handedly destroy it with my skills, and then they make a statue of me, in honor of me, 2 stories tall, and then I spray that with the emotion goo, and I watch the statue of me get animated, my bronze avatar, bringing about destruction on all those who oppose me. But, as long as we're looking at sculptures, check out this one at Washington's Crossing, showing Washington's Crossing. A brief pause to imagine what it would be like if they came to life. I imagine they would just struggle with the oars, and continue vlog. But there's a cache within spitting distance of this statue. Made a little mess, but by the powers of George Washington, I have found it. And this cache is about how George Washington is apparently considered the father of the American foxhound, which makes it sound like he had some weird interspecies encounter, but in reality, he just bred dogs with other dogs. And while the CO provides some interesting material about all that, I ended up focusing on the names that our first president gave his canine companions. Sweet Lips, Tipsy, Tiplet, Drunkard, and Vulcan were some of the names. I actually did some research, and turns out I was the first to find out the lesser-known names of the dogs he kept: Sugar Nuts, Crossfaded, Scissorp, and Klingon. Okay, terrible joke, but Sweet Lips? Come on, they say he named them on their tone and sound, but come here, Sweet Lips. Come to the father of American foxhounds. Yes, Sweet Lips. Oh, come on now, you think I have any shame after that whole tongue erection thing? Allow me to take you to the nearby frozen Delaware River, and imagine what it would be like crossing that night in 1776. The popular paintings all make it seem like he's miles out, but this is one of the more narrow parts of the Delaware. In fact, the only place it's more narrow is in a place called, uninspiringly, Narrowsburg. I myself have sailed these seas, back before the late onset of adult thalassophobia, with several other strapping lads in the summer of '95 on big inner tubes with barely 5 or 6 beers per person, our sunscreen running low, the temperature a balmy 72 degrees, and we bravely floated these waters for several hours before getting picked up for burgers and hot dogs, so I know something of the troubles General Washington faced that night. Actually, I've seen one of the reenactments they do here near Christmas time, and it wasn't too much better than what I just described. no offense to the LARPers, but it was very lackluster and very hard to suspend my disbelief. The Continental Army was down and almost out, poorly provisioned, they were struggling at night, there's a storm raging around them, whereas the only struggling I saw in the reenactment was the very pale and, shall we say, well-fed guys struggling to make sure their outfits didn't get dirty in the mud that clear and cloudless day. Oh, and they were all officers. I get it, no one wants to roleplay as some schlub they conscripted to man the oars. Speaking of oars, they have this displayed over the entrance to the historic boathouse. Victory or death. I'll just have a bowl of victory, thanks. Victory or death wasn't just a poorly worded ultimatum to show your dedication to liberty, but it was also the password to move around freely that evening. Seeing it on the sign here, I think it should be spelled victory or death. Oh, they would have loved me back then. I would have killed it in colonial times. All that from a micro about Sweet Lips. So as you can tell, we got about 8 inches of snow here with a 1/4-inch layer of ice on top of it, and it'll be here for some time, so I guess I should get used to doing non-ground-based caches until spring. Before I go, allow me to share a dream I had. Don't worry, I'll keep it brief, as I know listening to other people's dreams can be its own form of hell. In my dream, I had constructed a gadget cache and placed it on the top portion of an old quarry, and I filled it with gift cards and trackables, and it was a pretty rad cache. There were various ropes and pulleys that you had to manipulate in the right order, and if you did it wrong, if you pulled the wrong string, then the container with the log and the prizes would fall into the quarry and sink to be lost forever. Don't ask me about the dream logic that made it all work, it's just some weird geocaching fantasy of mine to have these one-shot caches, but the first dream person to come along and attempt it was none other than the geocaching vlogger. I say attempt because he, and again this is just some weird dream and not reality, fell into the quarry and died. No need for grim, horrible details here, and if you are the geocaching vlogger and this somehow gets back to you, please accept my heartfelt apologies for dream murdering you. Although, to be fair, my dream lawyer told me it was more of a dream negligent homicide scenario, and Dream Geocaching HQ and the dream reviewer that greenlit my dream cache are dream culpable for your accidental dream death, not just dream me. So I got in trouble and everyone hated me, and I woke up and I just felt bad and weird, and well, that was it. I have no problem admitting I checked my cache owner dashboard just to make sure I was in the right reality, and it's all good. I'm 89% sure this is the right reality, and those are acceptable numbers to me. That's it for now. Be safe out there.